Good evening, America. Unless you're watching from California, then maybe not so good. Just kidding. Sort of, it's your favorite president, some say the best ever. And tonight, I've got a few things to say. So grab your popcorn, turn off the fake news, and let's talk about what's really going on. It's going to be good, really good.
The United States has, for far too long, functioned as essentially a giant soup kitchen or a homeless shelter for the entire world. And it's not sustainable. We are out of space. We are out of money. We are out of resources. And as we watch what's happening in Los Angeles, we're also out of patience. Now, for one thing, the so-called legal immigration system as it currently exists is nothing more than a giant pipeline for fraud and scams. We are a country. We are not a giant bag of goodies that they give to children at the end of a birthday party. We're not an enormous prize counter at an arcade where all the prizes are free. We cannot afford to provide and provide and provide and provide to everyone else all across the world indefinitely. We just can't do this anymore. Our cities are increasingly descending into chaos that mirrors the third world because we have imported that chaos into our country, and we have to stop. It's just that simple.
Federal agents say that they arrested 2 suspected Iranian individuals who were running a human smuggling ring out of their home and who had terror ties. Here's what we know. Late last week, Customs and Border Protection say that they executed a federal search warrant at a suspected human smuggling hideout operating in a residential neighborhood in LA's San Fernando Valley. But this wasn't just a crash pad for illegals. It was a national security threat hiding in plain sight. Homeland Security officials tell Newsmax that this particular house had been repeatedly used to shelter individuals with terror links, including people the FBI already had tagged as dangerous.
Oh, hell no! In 1 week, I have seen in my city black men power washing parking lots, black men doing roofing work, black men doing lawn services around businesses in my city. Things are starting to look like the old days again. Black Man Thoughts 2.0, and I'm out. Peace.
Obama deported 3 million people, but when Trump deports 100,000, he's a dictator. Follow me if you think this doesn't make sense.
And as you'd expect, residents were rattled by what might have been going down on their block. Take a listen.
I mean, that's scary if that's true, because it's only literally 2 houses from my house, and I've lived here for 18 years. Just talking to our neighbor, this has been a really great, quiet neighborhood for a long time. That was totally surprising.
Authorities say this was the second takedown at the residence in a week. 7 Iranian nationals were previously arrested, some of whom with alleged ties to a human trafficking syndicate.
Deport all undocumented immigrants. Voters favoring the government trying to deport all 11 million of them. Back in 2016, just 38% of voters wanted the government to try to deport all 11 million undocumented immigrants. Compared to where we are in 2025, 56%, the majority. The American people have come a long way on this issue, much closer to Donald Trump, and I think that's a big part of the reason why Americans are increasingly saying the country is on the right track when it comes to immigration policy, and why Donald Trump's net approval rating on that issue is in the positive.
These arrests are part of a broader pattern. In recent days, Iranian illegals have been nabbed across the U.S., including, as we've reported, a sniper carrying military ID from the Islamic Republic, and another Iranian national with a rap sheet stacked with drug crimes, assault, and child abuse. In total, Homeland Security says nearly 1,600 known or suspected terrorists have been apprehended since the start of the Trump administration, many of whom were just roaming free in American communities. So,
all right, guys, what you're looking at right now is the U.S. side of the Rio Grande. That is a mass of several hundred illegal immigrants who have just crossed the Rio Grande, and look at this, several hundred more streaming across as we speak. We're on a boat in the Rio Grande. This is the Mexican side of the river right now. You can see it's a never-ending stream.
Kamala's putting up migrants in luxury hotels in Manhattan while Americans who have lost their homes are living in tents and living without tents, too. But, you know.
What's up, guys? This is Savannah Hernandez, and I have stumbled upon one of the hotels that is being used to shelter migrants here in Massachusetts. Now, I've been wanting to cover the Boston migrant crisis, and one of the things that was interesting about it was the fact that the migrants are not very apparent in Boston. You're not going to see them on the street like you would in New York, and I realized that's because they are busing a lot of these migrants or transporting them throughout various cities and towns in Massachusetts. So, for example, we're in Dedham right now, which is about 30 minutes outside of Boston. Again, you guys can see this hotel. It was a former Fairfield Inn, and it is now being used to house migrants. And I was doing some research as well into how much these hotel rooms are going for, and they're going for $5,400 per month. So these migrants staying here, $5,400 per month, taxpayers paying upwards of or almost $9 million to house migrants in this location. I was even reading some reviews online about how people had booked at this hotel and then their reservations were just canceled, and they were told it's because migrants are now being housed here. And as you guys can see, there is quite a few of them out here kind of just hanging out. A couple of them have cars. $5,400 for these rooms. We talked to some of them, and they were saying that the rooms are small, they're not getting enough bedding, they're not getting enough resources, they don't like the food. So this is one example of what's happening here in Massachusetts. Norfolk, another good example of how these migrants that you might see at the Logan Airport are being shipped throughout the state. So in Norfolk, that's a town of a little over 11,000 people, and they have 450 migrants coming their way. So again, that's how they're kind of keeping this crisis a little bit more under wraps, as opposed to what you might see in New York, where the migrants are all sleeping on the street. They're busing them to all of these other little areas.
Hundreds of people crossing the Rio Grande basically every hour, and they're heading over to the International Bridge, which you can see in the background. Look at that mass of people. This is why the situation under the bridge continues to deteriorate. This is insane. The federal government has to wake up.
Oh, you're right.
The Trump administration is suing Los Angeles, accusing city leaders of blocking federal immigration enforcement.
Susan Hirasuna is here with details of what they're charging. Susan.
Indeed, they are charging a lot. The federal lawsuit names Mayor Karen Bass and the LA City Council. U.S. Attorney General Bill Asaley says that the city's policies block immigration enforcement. He's blaming them for recent violence during Southern California raids. The lawsuit also claims LA's sanctuary laws violate the Constitution. In December of 2024, the City Council voted to ban the city from cooperating with the feds engaged in immigration raids. The ordinance also bans the use of city resources from being used for those raids. Social media is full of videos like this where ICE raids are met with protests by community members. They're happening all over the country, but the Department of Justice believes the temperature is higher here than in any other part of the country, thanks to that LA ordinance. From the police chief to the mayor, the city stands with immigrants, and therefore, according to U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley, they're working against the feds.
What's going on in the streets is unacceptable. We have people every day assaulting our agents. They see agents conducting an operation, a swarm of people instantly start surrounding them. You have all these apps now to notify the public where our agents are. You have people trying to dox our agents, and you wonder why they're wearing face masks, because they want to take a picture of them so they can find their family and go to their home.
The lawsuit claims LA's ordinance goes beyond SB 54, California's sanctuary law. Not only is important information regarding undocumented immigrants not shared with the feds, but the city can actually bar specific agencies from LA property. That's a violation of the Constitution, according to Bill, specifically the Supremacy Clause. Now, we reached out to members of the LA City Council and the mayor for a reaction. So far, only Council member Hugo Soto Martinez responded. His statement reads in part, "We refuse to stand by and let Donald Trump deport innocent families. We're going to do everything within our power to keep families together." And if successful, the lawsuit could strike down local protections for undocumented migrants. And they are willing, of course, the DOJ, to go all the way up to the Supreme Court on this.
The United States has, for far too long, functioned as essentially a giant soup kitchen or a homeless shelter for the entire world. And it's not sustainable. We are out of space, we are out of money, we are out of resources, and as we watch what's happening in Los Angeles, we're also out of patience. Now, for one thing, the so-called legal immigration system as it currently exists is nothing more than a giant pipeline for fraud and scams. We are a country. We are not a giant bag of goodies that they give to children at the end of a birthday party. We're not an enormous prize counter at an arcade where all the prizes are free. We cannot afford to provide and provide and provide and provide to everyone else all across the world indefinitely. We just can't do this anymore. Our cities are increasingly descending into chaos that mirrors the third world because we have imported that chaos into our country, and we have to stop. It's just that simple.
Proud of it. Mr. President, Mr. Governor, what's your message to Governor Gavin Newsom inside of this facility?
Well, the first thing you should do is come here and learn something, because they don't do this. They don't know. They wouldn't know where to begin, and if they did it would cost them 100 times more. So I would say he should call the governor and Christie, and I'm sure you'd give him because his state is a disaster, and he doesn't do this.
Do you believe deploying the military to conduct law enforcement on U.S. soil is legal?
Look, we have to make certain that we protect American cities. If not for President Trump, Los Angeles would be burning right now. We had 6 ICE agents that were totally in fear of their life because local officials, an incompetent mayor, a grossly incompetent governor, refused to do their job.
Is there anything you would not find acceptable for the U.S. military to do on U.S. soil?
Look, President Trump understands what the Constitution is. He understands what the laws are. We have to protect our cities. We have to protect our ICE agents. We have to protect our federal buildings. And Gavin Newsom should maybe get off Twitter and start actually going down to L.A. and protecting his own citizens.
The courts have ruled on the Guard. They will be back under my command.
A few moments later.
Okay, why is Trump back in control of the National Guard, you guys? What the hell is going on? First I lose my pool boy Roberto, and now this? I seriously need a mani-pedi right now. A bottle of wine, cherry ice cream, and a whole season of Will and Grace. Fuck this politics thingy.
What's actually happening is they're buying voters. That's really what's happening. It's like a giant voter fraud scam. They're importing voters. It's easy to understand if you look at basic incentives. The basic incentive here is the more illegals that the Democrats can bring in, the more likely they are to win. So that's what they're going to do. That's what they have been doing, and it worked in California. California's supermajority Dem. And look at all the companies that are leaving California.
Yeah.
I mean, In-N-Out just announced they're leaving.
Yep.
Their headquarters leaving California.
They're moving to Tennessee.
A fourth day of rallies and protests on the streets of Los Angeles.
It was a peaceful rally. What is going on right now is also peaceful.
Here we are expecting rallies later on.
When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
In Los Angeles, there is a new crowd of protesters that has been building.
CNN had it that these were rallies. Now they've become protests. I'm afraid that by tonight they become riots. If we don't have the ability to stand up and stop this violence before it consumes a great city like Los Angeles, then there's no telling where this could spread.
Are hardworking, good people, and they're the backbone of our city, and they should have access to all the things that we have access to. And I just don't think they understand that it's a political pawn. I don't think they understand
It's a political game.
This is not done for compassion and kindness.
No.
This is just done to ensure that it stays blue.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's essentially a bribery with your tax dollars.
Yes, this is why the Dems will not even deport criminals.
Yeah.
Because every criminal deported is a lost vote.